Welcome back to the Roberta Show, a space for real conversations, real growth, and real transformation. I'm your host, Roberta Tabb, the Affirmation Architect. And today, we're talking about something that keeps so many people stuck without even realizing it. We're going to talk about overthinking your decisions. Not because you don't know what to do, not because you're incapable, but because somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting yourself. And when self-trust is low, every decision starts feeling bigger than it actually is. You question everything. You replay conversations. You make pros and cons lists. You ask everyone around you what they think. You wait for more clarity, more certainty, and more confirmation. And before you know it, you've spent more time thinking about the decision than actually making it. Sound familiar? If so, this episode is for you. Because today, I want to help you stop second-guessing and start choosing. Let's start with something important. Most people think they have a decision-making problem. What they actually have is a self-trust problem. Read that again. Because if you trusted yourself fully, you wouldn't need endless reassurance. You wouldn't need everyone else's approval. You wouldn't spend weeks trying to eliminate every possible risk, and you would make a decision, trust yourself to handle whatever comes next, and move forward. But many of us have been conditioned to believe there's one perfect choice, one perfect path, one perfect answer, and if we choose wrong, everything falls apart. But life doesn't work that way. Most of the time, the reason you're stuck isn't because you're missing information. It's because you're afraid of making a mistake, afraid of disappointment, afraid of judgment, and afraid that things won't work out. So instead of choosing, you stay suspended between possibilities. And that suspension becomes exhausting, because indecision is still a decision. When you avoid choosing, you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. I want to ask you something. How many opportunities have you delayed because you wanted more certainty? How many dreams have stayed dreams because you kept waiting to feel ready? And how many times have you ignored your intuition because logic felt safer? Here's what I've learned. Clarity often comes after movement, not before it. So many people are waiting for clarity to arrive before they act. But action creates clarity. Experience creates clarity. Movement creates clarity. You don't think your way into confidence. You act your way into confidence. Now, let's talk about aligned decisions. An aligned decision isn't always the easiest decision. It isn't always the safest decision. And it certainly isn't always the most comfortable decision. An aligned decision is the one that reflects your values, your growth, your truth, and the person you're becoming. That's why alignment requires honesty. Sometimes you already know what the right decision is. You just don't like what it's asking of you. Sometimes alignment requires boundaries. Sometimes it requires letting go. Sometimes it requires starting over, and sometimes it requires being seen, and that's why people often stay stuck. Not because they don't know, but because they do know, and they don't want to face what comes next. One of the most empowering questions you can ask yourself is this: if fear wasn't making this decision, what would I choose? Sit with that question. Because fear is loud and truth is usually quiet. Fear creates confusion and truth creates clarity. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Truth says, what if it does? Fear says, wait longer. Truth says, you're ready enough. Fear says, stay where it's familiar. Truth says, you've outgrown this. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop letting fear lead. I want to give you a practical framework for making aligned decisions. When you're faced with a choice, ask yourself, does this align with the life I'm trying to build? Does this align with my values? Am I choosing from growth or fear? Will I regret not trying? Is my intuition trying to tell me something? Then I want you to stop gathering opinions. Stop researching endlessly. Stop creating more confusion. Choose and trust yourself. Because confidence isn't built by making perfect decisions. Confidence is built by making decisions and learning that you can handle the outcome. Every time you choose, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you choose, you prove to yourself that you're capable. And that's how alignment grows. Welcome to your affirmation work. Take a deep breath and repeat these affirmations slowly. I trust myself to make aligned decisions. I release the need for perfect certainty. I do not need all the answers to move forward. My intuition deserves my attention. I am capable of choosing what is best for me. I no longer allow fear to make my decisions. I trust myself to handle whatever comes next. Every decision strengthens my self-trust. I choose progress over perfection. I choose myself. I choose my growth. I choose alignment. Repeat these as many times as needed. Now let's check in with your alignment. Ask yourself, what decision have I been avoiding because I'm waiting for certainty? The truth is, you don't need more time. You need more trust. This week's action is to choose one decision you've been postponing and commit to making it within the next 24 hours. Not because you're completely certain, but because you're ready to stop standing still. You are not stuck. So decide. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Roberta Show. And remember, the life you want isn't built through endless overthinking. It's built through aligned decisions, courageous choices, and trusting yourself enough to move. Until next time, keep choosing the person you're becoming. I'll see you in the next episode.